Caution, and you are about to hear the conservative voice. Freedom Report begins right now. Good evening and welcome to the Freedom Report, powered by the Madison Institute. I'm Daniel Moss, alongside my friend and guest host from the Madison Institute, Kelly Berry.
How you doing, Daniel?
I am doing excellent. It's great to be here tonight.
Absolutely.
I'm really excited about tonight's show. All right, so as a continuation from last week, we were on a hot topic that many news stations are talking about, but tonight we're going to give you the truth right here on the Freedom Report.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're talking about the GOP Republican nomination for President of the United States.
Right.
Alabama, March 13th.
Right.
Remember that? And in remembering that, we want you to choose a candidate based on truth. And we're going to give you the Freedom Report's guide to voting. All right, so Kelly, let's get started.
Well, last week, Daniel, we talked about, we got bogged down a little bit, but we talked a lot about liberty.
Right.
And so our first on our voter's guide, our first instance is, what are the candidates' views on liberty? Mm-hmm. So tonight we're going to pick up the second one. We want to know about freedom, because freedom and liberty are a little bit different.
Right.
You know, liberty is the noun, mm-hmm. and freedom comes from liberty. And so, and as we know, Noah Webster said that the religion that introduced civil liberty is the religion of Christ and his apostles. So we're going to talk about liberty tonight. Mm-hmm. How does the candidate feel about freedom? You know, freedom is the state of exemption from the power or control of another. Our founders felt very strongly about liberty and freedom, mm-hmm. So strongly they were willing to fight for it.
Right.
Does our candidate that we're talking about, is he willing to fight for liberty?
Now, I could take it a step further and say, is he willing to, as they did, give his life if necessary? Because they felt that was their duty.
Well, they pledged at the end of the Declaration of Independence our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Exactly.
So they were willing to give all.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is our candidates got the same commitment to liberty that our founding fathers did? You know,
and that's a strong commitment to ask for, but I would venture to say that now is the time and now is the place to make such a commitment.
Yep. You know, Daniel, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about a quote from the state of Alabama Constitution about what the purpose of a legislature is. Do you remember what that was?
Not exactly.
In the Alabama Constitution, it says that the first duty of a legislature is to defend the rights of the citizens. So mm-hmm. that goes right along with freedom and liberty.
Right.
Are our legislatures willing to defend the rights that we have in our Constitution? And right now, we've got a bunch of legislators and senators that aren't doing that, as you know. And we're going to talk about some of those issues later on tonight.
Exactly.
But I think point number 2 that we need to make here on our voter's guide is, what are the candidates' views on freedom and liberty? And if they're not willing to lay it all out, just like our founders did, and uphold the Constitution right. and the rule of law, then I don't think they qualify for a ballot.
Exactly.
Moving on, John Jay, who was our first Supreme Court justice, said it this way. He said, "Providence has given to our people the choice of their rulers, and it's the duty as well as the privilege and interest of our Christian nation to select and prefer Christians for their mm-hmm. rulers. It is to be regretted, but so I believe the fact to be true, that except the Bible, there is not a true history in the world." So here we have John Jay, our first Supreme Court justice, saying that it is our responsibility, nay, our duty, to elect Christians. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the third thing on our voter's guide. Are they a Christian?
Right.
Do you agree?
I do agree. And it holds right with that Supreme Court ruling that we talked about a few weeks ago, that, you were not even considered a patriot, if you were not a Christian.
That's right. So that's our third item now. Our fourth item, righteousness. Daniel, we've quoted on this here before, that righteousness exalts a nation and sins a reproach to any people. Mm-hmm. The Amplified Bible, that's Proverbs 14:34, and the Amplified Bible says it this way: uprightness and right standing with God and parentheses, moral and spiritual rectitude in every area and relation, elevate a nation. But sin is a reproach to any people. Right. So the question is our candidate that we're talking about, what's his view of righteousness? What's his view of sin? What's his view that the United States or the state of Alabama should be doing what is right in the sight of God?
And in such a dire time, of so many things going one way and another, and it's such a, I guess, the word I'm looking for is dramatic world.
Right.
We need a candidate that will stand for righteousness, because if we have a candidate that is unrighteous who wins the presidency, he is messing with the very foundation of the throne of God.
That's right.
And the foundation of our country,
That's right.
we have learned.
You're right. So this is an important issue. So now we've got 4 issues on our voter's guide. We've got the candidate's views on liberty. What are the candidate's views on freedom? What are they a Christian? Mm-hmm. And are they a true Christian, or are they an imitator? Because that last discussion about righteousness will bear that out. Mm-hmm. Do they truly believe that the Bible is true, what it says about righteousness? Or are they just trying to be in the Christian club for their marketing, for their campaign? Yeah. That's a serious issue. We need to make sure we understand and we've got several candidates, as you know, that are trying to play Christian.
This is an interesting conversation. I know you all are enjoying it. Hey, but stay tuned next week when we let Kelly advise each individual candidate in the race. It should be fairly interesting to get Kelly's opinion on that. All right, so coming up next, we're going to talk a little bit about the Alabama legislature may allow charter schools into Alabama. We're one of 9 that have it. And also stay tuned for a majority of Americans, according to Gallup, will explain the truth to you, are in favor of raising the taxes on the rich again. Support all of our sponsors, and we are very, very thankful for them for advertising on our show. I'll be right back in a minute.
Burton's Food Store on Highway 431 in Sardis, a convenient locally owned store offering groceries at affordable prices. Burton's provides fresh ground beef, fresh cut meats, fresh produce, and fresh dairy products every day, and features weekly specials on brand name canned goods, drinks, and paper goods. Burton's Food Store, Highway 431 in Sardis, your local place to shop for fresh food at affordable prices.
Does your business need any type of office supplies or office furniture? If so, we recommend Business Products and Services of Alabama. Business Products and Services is locally owned and operated and offers competitive discount pricing that's guaranteed on every product selected from their vast online catalog. Orders can be placed by phone with Alabama-based customer service reps, or you can utilize their easy online ordering system. Either way, you'll receive free next-day delivery. So, if you're ready to do business with a just and honest Alabama company, contact Business Products and Services at 205-290-9303 or online at bpsorder.com.
Do you need help promoting your business? Do you want to have that special day captured forever, or that first Christmas or first birthday never forgotten? Then contact Celebrity Productions. We offer wedding videos of photography, picture slideshows with music, video editing, television commercials, and much more. So if you are ready to do business, contact Mark Bosch with Celebrity Productions at 205-434-1773 or mark.celebrityproductions@gmail.com. Celebrity Productions, here for all your video capturing needs.
And welcome back to the Freedom Report, powered by the Madison Institute. I'm Daniel Moss alongside Kelly Berry.
Absolutely.
All right. So we've got an interesting discussion coming up right here about charter schools. And according to AL.com, their investigation has Speaker Mike Hubbard quoted as saying that charter schools will be on the docket
Wow.
for this next legislative session,
You know,
it is a goal for them.
That's being pushed by Representative Phil Williams out of Huntsville.
So we got, and that's awesome. And this is, of course, this dialogue is mine and Kelly's opinion,
Right.
of course. But it's interesting to note.
It is.
According to AL.com, charter schools, and I quote, are public schools that exist through contract, either through a state agency or local school board. Charter schools are free from the bureaucracy and regulations that traditional public schools follow, and must achieve strategic goals set out by the charter, including improving school student achievement.
Right.
And I want to note also, according to AL.com, that Speaker Hubbard is quoted for saying it's not a cure for all of our ills, referring to the state education system,
Right.
But it will provide an option. We should not force parents, our taxpayers, to send their kids to schools that are failing.
That's right.
I want to, on this program, congratulate Speaker Hubbard for his strong stand for this issue. I, being a student, I really, Kelly, respect a man who will stand up, against all odds. Every union that the state has, I'm sure, I can't say every union, but the biggest union, the T.E.A., is against it. They fought it last time.
That means I'm probably for it.
Exactly. I commend Speaker Hubbard for standing up against the establishment.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
So we may open a door in Alabama that needs to be opened, in my opinion. And I want to point out again, as I said before the break, that we are one of 9 states that don't allow it.
I think charter schools is a great idea. I've talked to Phil Williams about this and his ideas about charter schools, and I totally agree with him. Daniel, we should not force children to go to failing schools. As a matter of fact, failing schools should be closed.
Exactly.
But we ought to provide the opportunity for parents to stay involved with their kids and give them options. Right now they don't have an option other than to go to a private school, and a lot of parents just can't do that. But with a charter school, that opens that option up. And there's a lot of kids that just don't have the opportunity to get a good education because of where they live, and they can't do anything about that.
Right. And we want to point out to you, our viewer, that according to the definition that Kelly and I, this is not saying that the bill defines it this way, but a charter school is a private or is a public-private school.
Public-private school, publicly funded, privately operated, and they recruit their own teachers, own principals, etc.
And they can, and under most circumstances, they can decide on the curriculum.
That's correct. They can.
And that's what Kelly and I are really excited about, too.
That's it.
Because as, Kelly and I have shown you a lot of interesting, cool textbooks that are coming out that have God as the center of the American founding, as we always know.
We have the opportunity here with charter schools, I think, to put truth back in the schools.
And amen. That's what we're here for. Reveal and restore truth. Remember Speaker Hubbard in your prayers, and talk to your representative about it.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're going to go into a time where we're going to go into our Fast Five.
Okay.
This is for our audience's view. We got 5 questions here, and Kelly's going to have anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute to answer these questions. And let's get started.
Okay.
All right, we've got some interesting questions here. Number 1 is, and I want you to give me a vague answer. I don't want you to go into any great detail because of time. But what is progressivism?
Well, a simple answer to progressivism is there are people who want to progress away from the Constitution. In other words, they're liberals. Right. So they want to move from the conservative, limited government view to the big government, liberal view of government. And simply, very simply put, that's what progressivism is. So if you hear someone say, I'm a progressive, that means they're liberal.
Mm-hmm. All right. Question number 2. When did progressivism begin in America? I don't expect you to give me a date or anything, but just, rough history there.
Generally, it began, there's always been those for and against the Constitution. If you go back to 1789 and through the George Washington days, there were those that were for Washington and those who were against Washington. Right. There was those that were for the federal government, those against the federal government. So there's always been an opposition there. Liberalism really came out of the closet, I think, somewhere around 1859 when the Origin of Species was founded, and we're going to talk later that actually the theory of evolution became instantiated into law around 1869, and that's when the progressives really got their toehold in and began to move our government and the basis of our government, our laws, away from the Bible.
And I think Kelly and I will agree both on that changed the course of American education.
It did, absolutely.
All right, question number 3. This is a little different. What is social justice?
Social justice is when you start taking basically humanist views and applying it to justice. Instead of taking the Bible's definition of justice, which we've talked about on here over and over and over, instead of taking the Bible's view or God's view of justice, we begin to take the humanist view or our own understanding of that and applying it. So that's where we get into issues like wealth envy, or we get into we get into issues of welfare or paying people not to work, and etc.
All right, good answer. And I know you may restate yourself in this question, but I want to make sure for our viewers' audience that they understand this because this leads into a lot of other things. But question number 4 is, how does social justice compare with God's justice?
Social justice, again, is a humanistic view of justice. In other words, that's not right. Well, or that's not fair. Fairness.
Right.
Fairness is not something that God's really interested in. God's interested in just and right and wrong. And fairness is something that we have created ourselves.
And last question, how does socialism compare with progressivism?
Progressivism and socialism are virtually one and the same. Both of them are, our government was based on godly principles and God's justice, sense of justice. Socialism is a replacement for God. Anytime you put these isms out there, for the most part, socialism, communism, Marxism, fascism, they're all where the government is trying to take the place of God. So you get rid of God's view of right and wrong, God's view of what's good and evil, and you replace it with what the government believes is right and wrong and good and evil.
And that goes with all throughout history as, government idolatry.
Absolutely.
It started back with pagan worship and ends, hopefully not end with America.
You're right.
All right. Good answers. Fast 5 is always as fun, as it can be, picking Kelly's brain. Okay. Coming up next, we're going to talk a little bit about Americans approving of tax hikes for the rich and kind of interesting discussion on the National Defense Authorization Act coming up. It ought to be interesting. Stay tuned. Don't even think about touching that dial. We'll be right back in 1 minute.
Does your business need any type of office supplies or office furniture? If so, we recommend Business Products and Services of Alabama. Business Products and Services is locally owned and operated and offers competitive discount pricing that's guaranteed on every product selected from their vast online catalog. Orders can be placed by phone with Alabama-based customer service reps, or you can utilize their easy online ordering system. Either way, you'll receive free next-day delivery. So, if you're ready to do business with a just and honest Alabama company, contact Business Products and Services at 205-290-9303 or online at bpsorder.com.
Burton's Food Store on Highway 431 in Sardis, a convenient locally owned store offering groceries at affordable prices. Burton's provides fresh ground beef, fresh cut meats, fresh produce, and fresh dairy products every day and features weekly specials on brand name canned goods, drinks, and paper goods. Burton's Food Store, Highway 431 in Sardis, your local place to shop for fresh food at affordable prices. Do you need help promoting your business? Do you want to have that special day captured forever, or that first Christmas or first birthday never forgotten? Then contact Celebrity Productions. We offer wedding videos of photography, picture slideshows of music, video editing, television commercials, and much more. So if you are ready to do business, contact Mark Bosch with Celebrity Productions at 205-434-1773 or mark.celebrityproductions@gmail.com. Celebrity Productions, here for all your video capturing needs.
And welcome welcome back to the Freedom Report, powered by the Madison Institute. I'm Daniel Moss, alongside Kelly Berry. All right, so we got some interesting numbers. Again, Gallup releasing a poll that states that Americans generally favor raising taxes on higher income Americans. President Obama laid out his jobs bill on September the 8th. 3 or 4 days later, he's got it in bill form, sent to the Congress. Republicans later say it's nothing more than class warfare, which, that's up for debate as well. Mm-hmm. But the interesting thing is that we see here that 66% of Americans, according to Gallup, are in favor of increasing taxes on individuals earning at least $200,000 a year, and families earning at least $250,000 a year. It's an interesting number, but when we really look at it, this is a Gallup official study, but I think they may have made a mistake on this one a tad bit here, because we're looking at these numbers as far as how the Democrats polled in that, and we see that 85% of those that were polled were Democrat leaners.
Oh, that makes sense now.
Yeah, so we're getting 2-to-1 ratio almost, but we see that. Regardless, socialism is creeping into America.
Yeah, Daniel, that's it's a real sad thing when you see that a preponderance of Americans that are in that poll don't understand how our economy actually works. Because that's a direct relationship of what's being taught in the schools, I might add. That we don't understand that, poor people don't make anything. They don't create anything.
No.
If you want a job, you have to go to someone that can create a job. Right. And God gave us, Deuteronomy, I think it's 8:18, says it's God that gives you the power to get wealth, to establish His covenant in the kingdom. So creating jobs is a blessing, and the ability to do that is a blessing. So why is it that they want to take all the incentives away from people to do that? I mean, Daniel, if I came to you and said, all right, Daniel, I want you to go create a business. And you get to work 80, 90 hours a week, and you get to put up with all the headaches for all the paperwork you got to do with the government. You got to worry about competition. You got to do sales and marketing, all this other stuff. But you can only make $25,000 a year. How incentivized are you to do that?
Yeah, I'm not going to work very hard in that kind of condition.
No, you're not. And so that's exactly what is happening. Many of our business owners, because people don't know this, many of our business owners don't make that much money. Because by the time they have to go buy their store, their utilities, their business, many doctors don't make that much money when it comes right down to it, because of all the overhead they have to go through. And then on top of that, the taxes. Yeah. I mean, great day. Now, what we have here is clearly wealth envy. Where people, the have-nots, are envious of the haves, but maybe they're not willing to put out what it takes to have more. Right. Because we all make choices, Daniel, about how we want to live our life. In school, you start making that choice whenever you decide to study or not. Yeah. If you get poor grades, you don't qualify to go to college, but that was your choice. Right. When you go to college, the degree that you choose has a lot to do with how much money you're going to make. Exactly. Do you want to choose to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, or do you want to be a craftsman? Now, there's no problem with your choice. Right. But
until the government steps in and starts trying to equalize money.
Exactly.
Then it doesn't matter whether you want to be one or the other.
So why do you want to go spend 10 or 15 or 20 years of additional schooling to be a doctor if you're not going to make any more than the person just got a 4-year degree? Why? Where's the incentive to do that?
Right. And it's not the government's place to take that away from you.
No, that's actually theft.
Right. And it's in its highest form.
It is.
All right. So, we want to tell you that you have decisions that you can make, and I want you to make those based on truth. And the truth is that, as hard as it's getting to believe in America, that we still live under a free market capitalism economy, and you can go as far as your legs will take you. With the help of God, you can make as much money as you want to make. And our goal is to reveal and restore truth to get this socialism kicked out of America. So, Kelly,
Yep.
I think you got an interesting
I do.
article for us.
There's some things that's happened since Christmas that I want to make people aware of. There's this thing called the National Defense Authorization Act, and there was something slipped in there that's changed the state of our Constitution. Basically, what this bill was designed to do, well, the intent was to make it easier to prosecute the war on terror. But what they actually did was they gave the federal government, the military specifically, the power to turn American citizens into enemies of the state for any reason it deems necessary. Now, this is really serious.
Right.
And there's a lot of misinformation out there right now. You have congressmen and senators sending letters out saying, oh, that's not true, that's just a rumor. But when you go actually read the bill that actually got approved in conference committee, it actually says this.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of disinformation out there, but this is very serious, folks. I mean, they've given the president and the military the power to actually arrest you and to keep you detained without going to court for as long as they deem it necessary. Now, this has not been the case, Daniel, since the Magna Carta in the 1200s. I think it was like 1257, something like that.
Right.
We haven't had that ability for the government to do that since then. It's been outlawed. So now the Posse Comitatus, as you know, was passed right after the Civil War to actually prevent the military from having any kind of law enforcement abilities. Now we've given them back that ability. So really, last summer we saw them, the Fourth Amendment for illegal search and seizure or unreasonable search and seizure. Yeah. We saw that thrown out by the Supreme Court. Now we have this particular bill that says they can detain you for any reason they deem necessary. Then they're coming along right behind it with another bill. It's H.R. 3166 or Senate 1698, known as the Enemy Expatriation Act. Basically what it says here is being sponsored by Joe Lieberman
That's a turnoff.
and Charles Dent. That's right. But basically what this bill does is gives the government the power to strip Americans of their citizenship without being convicted of being hostile against the United States. So they can just declare you a non-citizen at will.
Wow.
Serious things going on.
Exactly.
And you need to get involved, folks.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. And as you can see, this voter guide that we're going to give you and your choices at voting are very important because we want somebody who will stand for liberty and freedom. Kelly, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Daniel.
It is a pleasure to have you invite us into your home. If you were willing to help us stay on the air, you can sponsor us by contacting us at the contact information on your screen. For Kelly Berry, I'm Daniel Moss. Remember that the conservative voice stops right here because we are definitely looking out for you. Thank you very much.
You're the God of this city. You're the King.